Lytudiep greets everyone. A story after the storm that has not been told. A great gift from Jame and the enduring love of Tu Diep and Jame that always lasts because Jame's decision is not for any other purpose but all comes from love. Today let's follow along. The final storm had just withdrawn. The sun rose behind thick grey clouds, casting faint yet hopeful rays over the land that had once trembled under nature's fury. Bent trees stood like warriors bowing to life. The ground was slick with mud, winding paths coated in earth that carried the imprints of suffering, resilience, and rebirth. And amidst it all, she stood tall, Tu Diep, the woman with the strange triangular hair and eyes that shimmered despite exhaustion. She had spent days and nights with the villagers, cradling crying infants, comforting the elderly huddled in corners of refuge, and most of all, holding tightly to James, the man who once symbolized power, now trembling at the thought of losing everything. James, the chief executive officer, who once defined success by profits, stocks, and closed-door meetings, now stood in front of a graceful white villa atop a hill. That villa, much like their relationship, had withstood the storm. He took a deep breath as she walked toward him, shoes still muddied, but her eyes brighter than ever. This house, it was once just a dream for the future. James began, his voice shaking with emotion. But after everything, I've realized, the future shouldn't be postponed any longer. Tu Diep frowned slightly, confusion in her eyes. I want to give it to you, he continued, his hands trembling. Not just because it's beautiful, but because you deserve it. You've shown me that a home isn't made of bricks and windows, but of love, warmth, and presence. She covered her mouth, speechless. James, I don't need a palace, he smiled gently, leaning closer, eyes tender. I know. That's exactly why you deserve one. Tears welled in her eyes as she gazed at the villa. To others, it was just a well-built structure, but to her, it was a symbol of a love nearly swept away, of promises made amidst ruins, and of a new beginning, steady and enduring. A bird landed on the tree canopy. The sun rose higher, and when James placed the key in her hand, the final storm had truly passed, not just in the sky, but in their hearts. Tu Diep stepped into the villa with hesitation. Her fingers brushed the polished wooden rail. The scent of lavender and cedar floated in the air. James followed quietly behind. Holding two steaming cups of tea, eyes never leaving her. She paused beside the large window overlooking the valley below. The floodwaters remained, but the lake was calm now, carrying a sense of hope. It's more beautiful than I imagined, she whispered. Voice thick with emotion. Not because it's grand, but because it's like us. Broken, then reborn. James moved closer, wrapping his arms around her from behind. I was hoping you'd say that, he murmured. That night, they sat on the porch. Crickets and frogs harmonized into a lullaby. The storm may have swept away possessions, but it also peeled away their facades, revealing truths long hidden beneath the rush of life. You know, Diep said, resting her head on his shoulder, when I thought I might die, I didn't think of money or the company. I just wished I could see you safe one more time. James squeezed her hand. Same here. All the success, the power, meant nothing without you. You made this house a home. In the days that followed, they opened the villa's doors to displaced villagers, cooking meals, sheltering elders, drying the tears of children. What was once a place of retreat became a hub of hope. And every night, they stood together atop the hill under the stars. A testament that after everything, love was the one thing that held strong. A few days later, while cleaning the bookshelf, Tu Diep discovered something strange, a slightly raised plank. She pressed it gently. Click, a hidden drawer slid open. Inside was a velvet box, an old faded photograph, and a wax-sealed letter marked with a J. Her heart raced as she opened the box, a satin blue necklace with a rose pendant of mother of pearl and gold. Gleaming like sunlight over water. Her hands trembled as she unfolded the letter. Greater than to my dearest Deep, greater than if you're reading this. We must have survived the storm, both outside and in our hearts. This house was never by chance. I dreamed of it before I even dared to dream of having you beside me. Greater than this necklace belonged to my mother. Passed to me with a message, greater than keep it for the woman strong enough to love you. Through wreckage, through silence, through everything, greater than welcome home. She clutched the letter to her chest, tears streaming. Behind her, James stood silently, then softly said, "You found it. You planned this all along?" "Not just the house." James nodded. "My entire life. It seems it's always been built to wait for you." The necklace sparkled between them, a symbol of love, legacy, and survival. The town began to revive. Muddy roads were adorned with lanterns and fresh flowers. Villagers gathered, laughing, singing, in front of everyone. James stepped forward. "This village welcomed me when I was lost, and taught me that true strength lies not in walls, but in human connection." A truck loaded with supplies pulled in. Deep stood beside it, smiling. "We're building a community center, a place for children to learn, elders to rest, and for everyone to find shelter when the storms come." Applause thundered. Tears fell. The mayor embraced them both and whispered, "You didn't just survive. You brought light back here." That night, lanterns danced through the village as James and Deep sat beneath a starry sky. "Do you miss the city?" she asked. James smiled. "Not when I have everything right here. With you, then." She took his hand. "Let's build this life together." And with a kiss, they began something greater than love, a purpose. But peace never lasts forever. One morning, while watering the flowers, a young man in a rain-soaked coat handed James an envelope. No words, just a bow. Then he disappeared. On the envelope was a familiar seal, from the old company headquarters. James froze. "It's a letter from the board," he whispered. Tu Diep held his hand. "Whatever it says, we face it together." James broke the seal and read quickly. The breeze stirred. His eyes blinked, not with fear, but surprise. "They want me back," he said quietly. "The company's in chaos. They believe only I can save it. They're offering full executive control." James tightened his grip on the letter. his gaze drifting to the horizon where the sun dipped behind distant mountains. The last light of day lit his hair like a halo. The call from the old world, of cold boardrooms, brutal negotiations, and unending fluorescent lights, now seemed like echoes from a lifelong past. Part of him still felt duty-bound, loyal to what he had once built with sweat and blood. But another part, the deeper, truer part, now belonged here. Tu Diep. She stood silently beside him. No questions. No urging. Just a steady hand in his, a quiet reminder, whatever you choose, I'm here. He looked into her eyes, eyes that had witnessed his lowest moments. Had lifted him, and knew he didn't need more time. He folded the letter, slid it into his pocket, and smiled. I once thought power was everything, he said slowly. But the storm taught me, true strength is having the courage to choose what brings your heart peace. Deep exhaled, relieved. But she still asked. You're not going back? James shook his head. Not the old way. If they truly need me, they'll accept the new me, a man who leads not just for profit, but for people. If not, they can find someone else. I choose to stay. I choose us. Deep threw her arms around him. They stood there beneath the blazing sunset, bathed in golden light over the reviving village. It was more than a decision, it was a vow. Months later, that little village became something special. The community center James and Deep founded turned into a beacon of miracles, children laughing in art classes, adults sharing knowledge on farming, startups, and warm dinners made from the shared backyard gardens. James hadn't left his work entirely, he'd evolved. From the white villa on the hill, he led a sustainable development fund. Inviting empathetic old colleagues, compassionate shareholders, and investors with heart. The old company, after hearing his vision, agreed to transform into a socially driven organization, prioritizing people over numbers. They had lost much, but gained more, and now, they were writing a completely new chapter, together. Thank you for following the story. Please subscribe to the channel to follow Lytudiep's story every day.